Hey, John, welcome.
Hey, how's it
Welcome
going?
to another episode of Eat Sleep Code, the official Telerik podcast. How are you doing, John?
I'm well. I'm well. Hope everyone out there is doing well as well. Lots of wells in that statement, but doing really good. Very busy. Things have been very crazy on our end, hope everyone's doing great.
We're doing pretty good here. It is, I think, the final death throw of winter hit us last week, and we had snow after a 70-degree day and before an 80-degree day.
Okay,
So it's been a weird spring season, but it happens
yep,
every once in a while. We get
sure.
these flashes of snow that just pop up in the middle of nice weather.
Yeah,
I
as a
think that was the
Canadian,
last one.
your observations of weather are amusing to me. So,
So this is the show where we talk about tech news and all that good stuff.
hmm
We've got some interesting things to talk about this week. As soon as I can share my screen properly here. Um, we kind of went over this last week before it was announced, so it was the day after the show. So
yes,
we kind of predicted what we might see. We didn't quite predict the new iMacs,
no,
but I do think they look nice. I'm not a
hmm
big user of Apple devices, but
okay,
I think they've got a good design aesthetic going here.
sure,
I
sure.
think people will like this.
It's wash, rinse, repeat for me. For those of us who are old enough to remember, they came out with a similar sort of advertisement for their color iMacs back in the day, the
Hmm.
sort of big oyster clam shells that they used to have. These look like basically iPads on stilts. They look really nice. I think that
Hmm.
they're gonna sell like hotcakes. And credit to Apple for coming out with a yet another design that kind of breaks the norm.
Yeah, I think these do look a lot like iPads on a stick.
hmm
But I think the plus side to this is they have a cohesive look and feel throughout like all their devices now.
Oh, sure.
So they're all just squares, but they're well made, nice colors and that sort of thing, and they all look the same. So your small one looks like your medium sized one, and the medium sized one looks like the desktop one. When you have all those things together in your home, they look nice together. I think they got something
Sure.
going there.
Yep, yep.
That's one of the things like the PC ecosystem kind of lacks is the variety of vendors gives you nice choice, but then you have like, item A that doesn't look anything or feel like item B in any way, and
No, and
sometimes,
I think that's okay.
Mhm.
I think there's going to be people who want that, and there's going to be others who don't, and I think that's fine. I think the
Mhm.
market provides what the market will demand and pay for, and so obviously there's a demand for folks
Yeah.
who want the gray pizza boxes, which is fine, and then there are others who like the aesthetics that Apple provides, and that's fine too.
Yeah, I think the point being here is like other vendors either have something similar or will knock this off pretty quickly,
Oh, sure.
but
Yeah.
they don't make all the things. So
No.
you'll have a laptop that looks like this, but nothing else in the ecosystem that in your house matches. So they got a leg up on that one, and they're using the same processor in all these things too these days, which is
Yep.
pretty unique.
hmm
So they released a new iMac and a new iPad Pro with the same M1 chip.
hmm
I heard, I don't know, I haven't confirmed this yet, but I heard that you can't use the existing mouse, keyboard, and pen with the new iPad Pro. So I have to look into that one, but
Okay.
that would be
I doubt that
pretty.
very much, but fair enough.
Yeah, that'd be pretty janky if you had to go buy all new peripherals just because it's a different iPad.
Okay.
I have to look into that though.
All right.
Um, iPhone, this one was a little underwhelming. They come out with purple. That was about all that was new here.
Sure.
Um, the iPhone 12, it's
I
purple.
like how the
Yay.
sentence is now dot in dot purple. Like this is going to blow people away. But anyway.
But at least it's purple like all your other purple devices. So
hmm
that's good. This one, on the other hand, not so impressed. AirTag,
Okay,
they've had this for a long time on an open ecosystem. It works on Apple and Android. It's
sure.
you know, what are they called on there again? I keep forgetting the name of it, which is really bad
If I
because
lose
it's
something,
simple.
it's gone. I accept. I
Tile,
accept.
that's
Yeah.
what it
Okay.
was.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Tile's been around for ages, and it looks like they're going to have a antitrust lawsuit going on with Tile
Oh,
because of
I didn't hear
the
that.
way they brought in competitors to their APIs and stuff to kind of get them into this ecosystem,
Okay.
and left Tile out purposely, and there was a whole thread on that as well.
All right.
And last but not least, they've got
New
the
remote.
new remote. I don't know if we talked about this on a previous show, but the remote for the Apple TV and the Fire TV were terrible,
Uh-huh.
just absolutely terrible. They made all the buttons the same shape and size. The touch portion of it just too sensitive, so they fixed all those things. So you can navigate this remote in the dark now and
Great.
not fumble with it and screw up what you're trying to watch. So that's
Mm-hmm.
always a good thing. At least they
Mm-hmm.
listened to some of the feedback and did something about it.
Yep.
Our house is a Roku house. We don't have
Okay.
any Apple TVs here, but
We've got two. We've got two Apple TVs. We
do
like
you?
them.
Cool.
Yes. Yes. If you've got a great internet connection, they work incredibly well.
Good. I've never had any experience with them. We've had Apple, or sorry, Roku's and Fire TV and Xbox, and the Fire TV was the worst thing we've ever owned.
Okay.
The Roku's have been very reliable, cheap, easy to work, navigate, and replace if something goes
Okay.
wrong. So we're pretty happy with those, but we're not much of a Apple ecosystem in the house.
It's fine. You know.
Yep, get a binge watch on something though. So
Sure.
if you're an Apple user, gotta have the Apple TV.
Fair enough.
Hello to folks in chat. Welcome to Aztec Consulting. Nice to have you here. So that was about wrapped it up, I think, for
Yep.
Apple this week.
Yeah.
Nothing super compelling, but like I said, the new iMacs I think are going to be just really big sellers.
Yep.
They
Yep.
were
Good stuff.
pretty impressive performance wise too for such a thin device, which is
Yes.
great to see.
Hmm.
All right, John. Working with GitHub Actions in your terminal with GitHub CLI.
Yeah, so GitHub has a CLI. For those of you who don't know, it's commonly referred to as GH. But the CLI itself has been popular for a while. It hit 1.0 a few months ago, and there's a great sort of little utility that allows you to do, push requests, etc., push in changes, and work with pull requests, etc. What's really been interesting is watching the evolution of that CLI, and now it has the ability to actually view your actions as they run within GitHub. This is a game changer to
Oh,
me
nice.
because
Yeah.
before your actions, you'd have to go up to the website and track them that way, and now you can have them run and watched within the context of GH, which is fantastic. So now you can view these runs, you can see where they fail, you can see where they succeed or if they succeed, etc. You can reissue them, etc., etc. This is great news, especially if you're reliant upon GitHub Actions as part of your workflow. For those who don't know, and I keep repeating this every time we talk about GitHub Actions, they are basically a set of utilities that, well, there's about 8,000 of them on the marketplace right now that you can use in the context of your repos. You can do anything from linting code to reviewing pull requests to compiling to pushing out to development. We at Octopus Deploy have 4 that allow you to push out deployments, for example. So there's any number of things you can do with GitHub Actions. And so this is just another means of utilizing them through the command line tool.
Yeah, that's really cool. I didn't know you could, or I didn't know the tool existed, but
Yeah,
the addition of having those update their status in the command line is just phenomenal.
Yes.
You used to have to go to the website, like you said, and like watch the little spinner and wait for it to go through all of its chores before it finishes
Sure.
up.
Yeah, yeah.
And usually you got that thing sitting off on like your second monitor or something like that, so you can
Yeah, yeah,
kind
yeah.
of watch it out of the corner of your eye.
Or you
This
wait for
makes
the
it a
email to
whole
hit
lot
your
easier.
inbox. Yeah, yeah.
Like on my machine, I have this thing called Con EMU. So I
Yep.
have a multi-tabbed um,
Yep.
console, so I can open like many consoles. I have watches going and services running in the background. You just fling open a new tab and start, hashing away on your CLI in the other tab.
Yep.
So it's nice to be able to run those things in the background with the command line. Cool stuff.
Yes. Yes. Very cool.
Tricking TypeScript into untyping
Into
or
typing
into
untyped
typing on.
JavaScript. Yeah. Yeah, it's a bit of a mouthful. Essentially, when you're using a JavaScript module within TypeScript, one of the sort of pitfalls you can fall into is if they don't publish the types into the, I know it's a file of sadness. The
I
reason
love
why
this.
is because there are examples out there where you want to use certain JavaScript modules within your TypeScript applications, and the compiler starts to complain because there's no types exposed within the module itself. And so this is
Hmm.
a kind of a fun little hack that you can do where you essentially wrap the import and you declare and you import then export within your TypeScript program. And it's a kind of a clever way of tricking the compiler. It's at the bottom here where this person did this little clever little hack. But essentially what they're doing is they're just taking responsibility of the lack of types within a TypeScript application. It's probably not recommended practice, but you can see here what they do is they just simply create a declaration for a module, ES6 module. They import the offending library, and then they export the types simply using the export. So there you go, and it makes the compiler happy. You can keep going. So this is a
Wow.
common sort of thing that you see, but I wouldn't recommend this. I would say maybe work with the library module authors to get them to export their types. But yeah, if you got this problem, this is one way to solve it. So it's like a classic sort of scenario. When developers are faced with a problem we cannot understand or fix, we do as God intended. We hack. And so this is a very clever little hack, I thought.
Yeah, I
So I
like
thought I'd
this.
mention it. Yeah.
Yeah, I know a father-son duo, and they were hashing it out one day, and Dad said something about not being able to deep copy in JavaScript, and his son's like, "I can do it one line of code," and he's like, "Parse JSON into the
Yep.
string,
Serialize the JSON,
serialize
read
it
in as
back."
JSON. Yep.
He's like, "There's your copy." He's like,
Yep. There's your copy.
this is
Perfect.
so hacky."
Sure, but it works.
Uh,
Yeah,
I was
it
I was
works.
working with something like this before, and what I came to find out was that if there's something that was very popular in JavaScript, and you're trying to use TypeScript with it, there's actually like
Yes.
third-party type definition files
Yeah,
that you can go
definitely
find.
typed, for example.
Yeah, so there's like
Mhm.
a library of these things. If
Yep.
you,
Yep.
this might be like your last resort after you
Oh yeah.
search those
Yeah, this is
databases
yeah,
out.
you should definitely try and find the types. you know.
Yeah. So if they're not provided by the maintainers, you can find like third-party ones online.
Sure.
So do some searching before you try the hack, but it's nice to know
Yeah,
you
yeah.
got something to fall back on if you
Yeah,
want
I
to try
thought I
it
thought
out.
this was clever. I was like, oh, that's a good way to get around the problem.
While we're talking about JavaScripts and TypeScript, we've got an article up on blogs.telerik.com, understanding JavaScript's array reduce method. And
Okay.
this is one of those methods I think goes unused because people don't really know what its intent is for.
Hmm.
Um, and it's nice to always give yourself a reminder that it's there and read up on this
Sure.
thing.
Yep.
It's a very handy function.
Oh yeah.
It's very versatile for doing things like finding a certain object in an array based on a certain property even. So you can do kind of like find the most expensive item in the cart type of thing, and you can do it in a single pass without having to do like a sort or something like that. So
Hmm.
it's super handy. There's some nice examples here.
Yep.
Showing you how to work with not only just static arrays of values, but with full objects as well,
Yep.
and how to reduce those. So map, filter, reduce. That last one always catches people, I think.
Yeah, I always look at it. I'm a bit of a math guy. I've always thought of it as like a projection. So in mathematics, we have these in matrices operations. You can do what are called projections, which basically allow you to project, say, for example, a two-dimensional or three-dimensional um, uh, Cartesian space, etc., onto a two or one-dimensional sort of value, and that's effective for determining all kinds of characteristics around matrices. I liken it to that. If you want to project something down, reduce is a great synonym as well. But
Hmm.
basically, if you want to get a singular value out of an array, this is one way to do it. Filtering, reducing, sorting, all these operations are critical, especially when you encounter them. Typically, when you encounter them is deep down into the code when you want something nice to happen. Like, it'd be great if we could do this with this structure. And
Hmm.
with arrays, it's typically one of these operations. So oftentimes people will look at these things and say, I will never use this, but you'd be surprised. It's usually deep down the code. It's usually one line of code that gets called, but it provides a nice little functionality for your code for doing operations like this. So try not to discount them. Use them when you can. They are very effective at getting some nice aspects of your code out and to your
Yeah.
users.
This one is also called aggregate in C Sharp, by the way.
Yep.
So this also applies there as well, and the syntax is very similar.
Yes.
The main thing with reduce and aggregate is if you find yourself writing a loop that starts off by setting a temporary placeholder for something and then
Yeah.
changing that placeholder throughout the process of looping, you're basically doing a reduce or an aggregate.
Sure. And
So
there's
if you
other
ever catch
language.
yourself,
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I was just going to jump in there and say, like, you can use this is where yield obviously kind of crops up sometimes as well. If you're doing loops and you're trying to calculate some value, yielding will help in those contexts as well. You can make your code a little bit cleaner. I find I like yield. I don't know about you, but I tend to use
yeah,
it from time to time.
yeah, that one's kind of the heart of all the link expressions we use
Yeah.
in .NET.
Yep.
All
Good stuff.
right. While we're talking about nerdy things, Linux has a update. So there's a new Linux kernel that came out. Um, just some notable features here
Is this the
is
hypocrite edition of Linux? I'm kidding. That's a pot shot. I don't know if you heard about what was going on with the hypocrite paper relative to
no.
the kernel, but yeah. Okay, so there's a longer story, so we'll just talk about this and we'll talk about that in a second. Go
So
ahead.
they added
Sorry.
support for some Microsofty things, hypervisor, Surface laptops. I also saw it's not listed in this list, but they added some support for game controllers, such as like the PS5 game controller, was it? Yeah, PlayStation 5 controller support. So just expanding the Linux ecosystem even further. So
Yep.
some pretty cool little bits in there. So
Yep.
what were you saying, John?
So this is a bit of a, I guess not a meme, but it's definitely a news story that has come up recently. If you do a search for hypocrite Linux, for example, there you go. Nice. This is what's happened recently. I think two students from a university were writing a paper related to the sort of the screening of commits that are coming into the Linux kernel. And
Hmm.
they intentionally added commits that on its surface looked legitimate, but basically were purposefully introducing bugs. And so they were writing this paper in the sense of trying to test whether or not there was enough oversight within the Linux kernel group or whatever committee, whatever you want to call it, to pick out these. They're not really nefarious. They're just. I understand the intention these students were trying to demonstrate, which is, yes, it's the common theme or the common thinking is an open source project has many eyeballs, therefore it is more resilient to bugs of this nature because more people are looking at the code, et cetera, and therefore there shouldn't be this sort of scenario where people can inject uh, code from bad actors.
Hmm.
And what this paper, I believe, was trying to articulate and demonstrate was that, in fact, this can happen if you write the code in a way that is, I guess, uh, opaque a little bit in its meaning. And so these two students went ahead and did this. Now, the feedback that they've received obviously was quite negative because it got, I believe it got committed. I can't confirm. I haven't really read into this too much, but I thought it was interesting just kind of looking into this. So they basically did, it's not an exploit, it's more like just a way, it's like sort of like a social engineering code approach of saying, as a paper, saying, listen, despite people's assumptions around open source, et cetera, there are instances where this can occur, and here are some instances. And they used the Linux community as an exemplar, if you will, for
Hmm.
demonstrating that. So they issued an apology. They said they should have worked with the community better to basically point out these shortcomings. You can read about this. It's quite popular, not in terms of good, but in terms of just pointing out this shortcoming. And so it's got a lot of people talking. So that was my jab. I didn't mean that in a way. Now I'm apologizing. It was just kind of an interesting sort of thing that I think things like this are good. Like it's just pointing out, like, hey guys, it's
Hmm.
it's something that people need to know about. This isn't always like
It's
foolproof, et cetera, et
good old
cetera. So
white hat hacking type of thing.
yeah, I can understand both sides of this issue. People saying, listen, this is not good the way you approached it. You could have approached it better. And then at the same time, the kernel team, has to look at its processes and say, okay, maybe we should have done better. I don't know. So yeah. So a new version of the Linux kernel, great. Anything that kind of looks at great.
I
Anything
thought
that
this
kind of
was
looks at
too
this stuff.
funny.
Yeah.
This was in the threads of like people commenting on it because I was trying to find out like what was interesting about the release.
Oh,
And I
okay.
was like, okay,
Yeah,
this is funny. This is worth sharing.
sure.
Um,
Hey, I use all the OSs. Come on. So,
I wrote a little piece this weekend.
oh, nice.
I was working with one of our support engineers on my live stream,
Yep.
and I set up SAS to work with our Blazor project. And
Okay.
he was like, "I did not realize it was this easy. You should write a blog about this because I think a lot of people are finding this the hard way."
Okay.
And I was talking to someone else at about the same time. Layla codes it. She has a stream. She was working on a Blazor project, and she had Gulp installed
Yep.
just to get SAS running, and
Yep.
it was all happening about the same time. I was like, I better write about this because things have changed. I've been working with this for, I want to say, 10 years. Is it that
Oh,
old?
okay. It's old.
It's
Yeah.
been a long time.
Old. It's
And
old. It's not old,
in
but it
web
is.
terms, though, like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
SAS is getting to be pretty old. I think it's about 10 years old now.
Yeah. I think
It's
that sounds about right.
older than or as old as Bootstrap. So when I was doing a lot of web design back when responsive design was first a thing, I was working with the foundation folks over at Zurb, and this was like a Ruby only tool, and you had to like get the whole Ruby thing set up on your machine just to get the SAS working, and then you had to run a bunch of command line commands to get it to go. And then React and Angular took off, and they kind of took SAS and embedded it inside of their CLI tools. So it's just kind of a given that you have SAS out of the box. During that whole time period, though, like people forgot like how to just set this thing up to compile a SAS file into CSS, and it's not really like well documented. If you start searching, what you find is stuff that's like 5+ years old before React and Angular came out, and there's a lot of like gulp and grunt scripts and things, and it's way too many steps to get this compiling. Like it's really just 3 steps. So I wrote about it here. All you really need is a package.json file, and you install SAS to your dev dependencies, and then you write a script to tell it where to put the files once it finds the SAS files. That's it. That's all you need.
Sure.
So it's one dependency, one script. and you're good to go. And then if
Yep.
you want to be even, if you want, like my daughter says, if you want to be extra, go ahead and add a watch to it,
Sure.
and then you have a watch script. These are the only steps that you absolutely need to get this going. And then there's some bonus tools and stuff that help you in Visual Studio if you want to add those type of things. But
Yep.
don't make it hard on yourself. Like, don't go look at those old, outdated articles. It's really simple. It's really just 2 to 3 steps, and you're good to go. So I put that out on my blog this weekend.
Nice. Yeah, I like SAS. It's fun. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's very useful still.
Yeah, I like
It's
mixins. I like all that good stuff. It's been a while since I've cut my teeth on that sort of stuff, but yeah, from what I remember, there's some goodness to it. At the end of the day, I'm not the best designer in the world. I think what happens is most people make my stuff look better. Those are the people who cut the CSS, and then I'll usually get, I don't know about other folks, but I typically work with it. I'll work with a designer. I'll get a design from them that they built in some tool that generates CSS, and then I'll kind of codify it into something like CSS or SAS or less to make it a little bit more manageable, and then update it from there.
Yeah, this is something I've been working on recently, and I'm redesigning it using SAS, but more importantly, I'm using just more modern CSS approaches to it. So I ripped Bootstrap out last week, and I was like, let's start from scratch. I redesigned the whole thing just with CSS Grid, and there's a whole lot less SAS or CSS code in this. It's a lot easier to understand. There's way less HTML because you're not over there like just creating divs for the sake of rows and columns. But it's coming along nicely. But this is where that article kind of came from. Is I was like, I need to set this up here. While I'm setting it up, I might as well put the article together, and we'll go ahead and put this out on the web. So yeah, this is coming along pretty nice. It's for a presentation tomorrow at 11:30 p.m. my time, but that's going to be some normal part of the day in India where the conference is being held. So
Oh, I see. Yeah, always a fun thing to present at that time, and always a challenge to do certain things on the web. And probably one of the hardest things to do is to center content vertically. So there you go. Well done.
it was. It's no longer hard anymore. So they've actually added CSS for that now. So you just say align center or align.
Doesn't always work.
Align
Doesn't always
self-center.
work.
It does if you know how to use CSS.
Okay, fair enough.
No, it works now. If you have a container that has access to like the full width of 100% width of something, then it will work. Anything inside of it that's set to align and justify center will center itself now.
All right, if you say so.
It's gotten way easier.
All right, if you say so.
That's what's happening right here on the homepage.
I know. I'm
We've
just
got,
poking fun. Come on. I got to poke fun. I poke fun at everything. Come on. Even myself.
This used to be like the bane of everyone's existence, though.
It still is, dude. It still
I
is.
know. I saw somebody tweeting about it just like 2 days ago. They were
Yeah.
like, I can't center things. And I'm like, it's so easy now.
No, it
you
is
just
not.
tell it to center. There we go. Here we go. That's all you need now. This is it. This is all you need.
Flexbox to the rescue.
This is just align and justify self-center.
Sure, and I'll ask you to pull up Can I Use and see if this works across all browsers. So
Now, what's all browsers to you? All the browsers I care about, this works in.
that's right.
You know which one that is? The one I'm looking at.
Your
right
own.
here.
Yeah, the one you're running yourself. That's
The
right.
one I'm running on. I think it works in all evergreen browsers. I think it does.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
I also picked up a nice CSS animation for these planets. I thought it just was
that's not a
phenomenal.
GIF?
This is not a GIF. This is.
So let me guess. That's a laid out. Is that a laid out strip, and you're projecting it onto a 3-dimensional surface, or making it look like that?
Yeah. So I reached out to this person that I found online. Let's grab the good old link out of the source code here, and he was nice enough to let me use this example in my presentation.
I want to
Thought
see
this
this.
was
This
so
looks
cool.
this. Yeah, I think this
Um,
looks kind of. It sounds to me like what's happening is you've got a strip. I'm guessing you've got a strip. It's like a rectangular strip, and it's doing a CSS animation. Is that right?
yeah, this is by Rob D. Mazzaro, and
Okay.
he talks about how he built all this.
Yep.
It's up on CodePen. I
Oh,
saw
I
this
love it.
ages ago, and I was
Yeah,
like,
this
"This
is
is so
awesome.
cool." I
It is.
definitely
It's
have a
cool.
use for this when I redo my
Yeah, yeah,
app.
yeah, yeah. I like it. I like it.
And
Oh, there you
he's
go.
even got
Yeah,
a
perfect. He's got the
quote
strip, and
from.
yeah, yeah, and then he's making it look like a three-dimensional. Yeah, it's a projection basically.
Yeah, and all the data was up on NASA's website, including like the
Oh, that's
planet
cool. So he's taken
details.
into account into account the actual day length, and so the
Hmm.
rotation is actually accurate.
Yes, this is
Awesome,
really,
awesome. This is
really
cool.
cool
I like
stuff.
this. This is good. This is good.
So this is all keyframe animation, and then he
Yep, yep.
puts it on the
CSS
proper
animations.
tilt,
Yep,
so
yep,
they're all tilted on their
yep,
correct axis
yep, yep.
or
Ah,
axes.
that's good. I like this one. This is good. This is good. I like this.
And then he's using box shadow here to add
Yep, yep,
the night, um,
yep.
shadow from
Yeah, it's a gradient.
the
Basically, it's a
sun.
gradient from translucent. It's going from opacity 100 to
Hmm.
0, basically.
Yeah, it's a what do you call it? Radial gradient. So
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
kind of got
Oh,
spotlight here.
this is very, very good. I like this. This
It's
is good.
absolutely clever,
Yes.
really cool, very accurate.
Yes.
And then there's even a. It's probably hard to see on the stream, but there's actually like a little white, kind of like sunlight edge to it, and then there's
Yes.
even a glow of the atmosphere around
Yes.
the
Yeah,
planet.
the atmosphere. Perfect. I love it.
It
I
is
love it. That's
really cool.
great. That is
So
good.
I reached out on Twitter, and he was like, "Put it in your presentation. I'm happy to see it there. That looks so
Yeah, yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Glad to see it being put to use."
Oh,
So
dude, this is great. This is really good because it's one, it's it looks good. Two, it's accurate, right? He's using the actual data to and look at the moon. The moon's slowly rotating, right?
yeah,
Whereas the Earth's like cranked. Everyone's like hanging on, like So that's good.
yeah, I've
I
got to
like
give
it.
it to Rob here too. So if you look, there's no moon in this. He does have the sun and some other planets and things I'm not using,
Yeah.
and he offered to add the moon, and I was taking a look at it, and it took me literally like I'd say 5 minutes to add it because the way
Okay.
he's got the
Everything's set up. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
everything set up, it's all in variables. So I
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
literally
yeah, yeah. I like it.
added
I like it. Yeah, yeah.
these are brand new CSS variables. I just added these variables for the moon and found
Yes.
the resource on the NASA
This is
website of
cool.
where
I love this. This is
yeah.
very cool.
And
This
I
is
pinged
very
it back.
good.
I was like, dude, I already added it. Your code was so good. I just plugged in a couple values and I had
Yep,
it.
yep, yep. Yeah, I like it.
So
Yeah.
yeah, really good stuff.
Yes, very good.
Also in this is while we're geeking out the little CSS here, this dotted line is also a radial gradient that has kind of no blur to it, and
Okay.
it's just animating in one direction and
Oh,
repeating.
okay.
So this is not graphics either.
Now, does
This
that
is
take?
just
Okay, so
pure
I'm going to geek
CSS.
out even further. So the distance between, obviously, this is not the scale, but is the distance the time it takes? I don't know how long it takes light for the moon to hit the Earth. I think it's like 30 seconds or something like that. I know it takes about 8.5 minutes from the sun to the Earth, but
Hmm.
it would be cool if you factored that in to that distance it takes a photon from the Earth to reflect down to the moon. Sorry, just getting a little geeky there. So,
Yeah. So what we can do is we can use machine learning with this, and I can tell you how much your trip is going to cost
uh-huh.
if we go from
Oh, you
to
got it animated in the
Earth to
drop down?
Mars.
Wait, 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 wait,
Oh
wait. Whoa,
yeah,
whoa,
yeah.
whoa. Go back. That's insane. You got it dropped in, you got it animated in the drop down.
This is why I
That's
like
awesome.
Blazor. This is why I like Blazor, John. This is
That's awesome.
yeah.
I just caught that. Oh, wait a minute. Your moon looks like dust. Your moon looks dusty. What's going on there?
Yeah, I think it's
Zoom
some
in
of
some more.
the atmosphere part of it. It's the scaling's a little rough on the size of
Yeah,
this,
yeah, yeah.
so it
That's
gets a little.
hilarious.
The atmosphere gets a little bit bigger than it should be on these.
That's awesome.
So like the atmosphere is like 10 pixels or something. When you start scaling it really small, it's like you can only go so small.
Yeah. Okay.
With
so there are limitations, obviously.
Yeah. So it's a little imperfect.
That's hilarious. Only a geek nerd would like, oh wait, the drop down's animated. And you'd be like fixated on that problem. Like, why is it dusty? How can I fix that?
I know, right? That's how I knew exactly what you're talking about, by the way.
Yeah.
I tried to fix it. So Blazor is totally awesome. When you have a drop down like this, you basically just say, here's the template for that drop down with the Telerik UI components. And I literally just put the component for the planet in there, and it rendered it the first time. I didn't have to do any special work to make that happen.
So that's not an HTML control. That's a Blazor control, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's technically both, but
yes, of course.
Yes, and
but
yes.
I'm just that's not a native DOM element for a
this is
select.
not a native. No.
Okay. Because I don't think selects have that ability.
No.
Out of the box.
They do have some.
Yeah, depending on what browser you're using, they vary. Yeah, they vary obviously. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some new stuff that's been added. Data.
Back to can I use? We've come full circle.
Thing?
Yeah.
But the point I was making here, excuse me, is we're using some machine learning here.
Okay. I'll talk while you recover. Let me talk while you recover. So we're spinning. We're using machine learning. I'm going to tap dance here while Ed recovers. All right, you're good to go.
So notice when I changed I changed it from Earth to Mars.
Yep.
The estimated price has changed, and this price is obviously very cheap, but it is actually getting a price.
Yes, of course.
So the way I'm doing the machine learning on this is it's more marketing than anything, obviously.
Yeah.
But it is actually exercising a machine learning model. And
you might want to reach it. Go ahead. Sorry.
What I did is I took taxi data for Manhattan, and I took the two furthest points on the taxi data and figured that's Earth and Mars.
Yeah.
And just let it work itself out. So the furthest distances you can go in the app is Earth to Mars. So on the taxi data, that's your two furthest distance. And then, so this is actually the taxi fare for, if we do edit trip again, let's bring this out to Mars. This is like $118 or something and 95 cents. So I just tack on a couple extra zeros to make it, it look fancy.
Now, what's interesting is this is actually dovetailing into the conversation that's being done right now about commercial flights to space through SpaceX, etc. This sort of interplanetary travel. What's interesting about this is that with the moon, you can pretty much launch any time, but with Mars, there's only 2 times a year that you can launch because obviously the orbit isn't perfectly circular. You've got an ellipse basically, which is like a circle is an ellipse, but it's spherical. Whereas with Mars, because of its rotation around the sun, obviously there's only 2 really good times to launch for Mars. So you haven't taken that into account, I assume.
No. I do know that, like with the orbits and the angle.
Yes.
You have to have a launch window, but this is kind of like your Uber wannabe space travel app.
SpaceX, Virgin Galactic, So
I thought it'd be fun to build, and it's
good.
It's been exciting to kind of put together like all the new .NET stuff into one app.
Yeah.
So it's got Blazor, it's got Cosmos DB, because why? It's space. You can use Cosmos DB, right?
Yeah, you need. Yeah. Why not?
And then you've got ML.NET, and I didn't have any reason to throw blockchain in there yet, but give me time.
You will.
Give me time.
You
John.
will. Yeah, you'll find something. Perfect.
So that was fun stuff to pick apart. Facebook Horizon. I was looking for an update that came out. They're changing the way their avatars work. I couldn't
Okay.
find the actual like release update
Oh, too
notes for
bad.
it. But when I was searching for it, I found something interesting that I did not know, and I thought I'd
What's
share.
up?
This is built with Unity.
Ah, yes.
I did not
That's pretty
expect
common.
that.
Well,
It is, but it isn't.
Unity
Like,
is used. Look, dude, Unity is killing it, right? They're using it for what they use it for the Mandalorian. They're using it for all kinds of different things, right?
yeah.
So,
But this is a user. Okay, so this is a system that is a game creation tool, not just a game.
hmm
So you're creating a game within this tool. So it's Unity being used to create another tool to create a game. It's very kind of
sure.
like meta, the way
Eh,
that whole thing works. And I thought that was pretty cool.
yeah. No, Unity is yeah. Like I said, Unity's killing it. So, they're using it everywhere now, and they're doing it to create three-dimensional sets with these projections. Obviously, they're using it for VR environments like Horizon. So, yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, I thought that was super interesting. readme.so.
Yeah.
Is this sort of like a readme builder, John?
Yeah. It's pretty typical sort of thing,
Mm-hmm.
sort of a tool for generating readmes.
Mm-hmm.
Really, quite a nice design, I thought. So I thought I'd just chuck it
Yeah,
in there.
I like it.
Nothing magical, just, you can obviously cook these yourself, but allows you to just add the stuff that is common. And yeah, one of many tools. I love single serving sites like this. They're great. They allow you to build things quickly. This is not meant to replace your sort of standard Markdown editor. So if you're using
Yeah.
something like Dillinger or something like that, or using VS Code, which is what I use, I wouldn't say use this as a replacement. But if you're looking for something that can templatize your README files, this would be a great sort of way to kick things off.
If you're on Windows, Markdown Monster is what you want.
Sure, that's
It
right.
is fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic app. I use this all the time, and it's got a lot of really cool features in it that that are
I
super
can
handy for like
I
publishing
can almost
blogs and
guess.
whatnot.
I can almost guess where the origin of that. So I'm a kid of the '80s. That
Hmm.
graphic of that. Yeah, this. I bet you anything that comes from the movie Legend, which was one of Tom Cruise's first movies, and that's the big monster in the movie. Not is it Legend or something like that? Tom Cruise's. It's like in 1982. We're going way back with this. No, not 82. Probably 86, 87. And I bet you that's where that graphic came from. Although it might be something custom. I don't know. That's the inspiration, at least.
Yeah,
So I
so
like it. Markdown Monster, perfect.
yeah, Markdown Monster is by Rick Strahl. Do you know
Okay.
Rick?
Yeah.
He's
Yep.
a Microsoft MVP and
Yep. Yep.
big part of the .NET community for a long time.
Sweet.
Good
So
author.
yeah. Yeah.
So he put that out, and I think what's nice about it is he's a frequent author,
Yep.
and he's writing Markdown, and
Oh, sure.
he's working his like workflows and stuff into the app. So that's what I use it for, is blogging and stuff. So it
Yep.
lines up really well with what I do. But
Yeah.
this README,
It's good. Yeah, it's good. I was just gonna say, like, there's things about Markdown I don't like. I think we could do better with tables. I think we could do better with additional extensions. I would like to see more extensions added so that we can generate things like, diagrams and things like that a little bit more easily. I know there are existing extensions, but I think the world needs to move on to Markdown 2.0. I love Markdown. I would like to see it evolve. It's still, there's some things you want to do that you just can't do very easily. Tables comes to mind. Tables are always a
yeah.
pain. But I'd like to see it get a little bit easier.
The Markdown stuff that's here, this is pretty cool because it's like piecemeal. You can just
Yep.
add in what you want.
Yep.
If you're looking for something application specific, I believe GitHub has templates for like almost every type of SDK. So
Yeah.
if you're like I'm doing a .NET app, it'll like there's like a repo on
Yep.
GitHub. I think it's by
Yeah,
GitHub
you can
as
create
well.
your own actually. So you can
Yeah.
create templates. So if you're an organization on GitHub, you can actually templatize your repos so that any future repos use that as your template.
Yeah. We've got a good article here by a coworker of mine, TJ Vansel. He's talking about React on the server side. So I was talking to him about Blazor, and the Blazor has a server version, and
Sure.
it also has like isomorphic rendering or both, pre-rendering server side and client side. And we were kind of shooting back and forth about other things that can do this, and he was talking about React and decided to blog about it. And he was blogging, why should you care about React server components, and it goes down the line of that whole like isomorphic
Yep.
rendering scenario
Yep.
where you want to kind of add in some extra speed for that first time hit. You've got SEO and that sort of thing. Then some of your resources are also smaller because you don't have to send all of that stuff to the
Yes.
client and have it hydrate the first time around.
Yeah, the biggest
So
one for me was obviously when you're pulling down data, you want to maybe save that extra hop. So if you're streaming it down to the client, you may have to pull down the data for an extra hop to the client. Whereas if you pull it down server side and cache it, you're just making that one-time hit. So
yeah, there's some caveats to it. So he talks about what those
oh,
are,
for sure.
and then kind of gives the scenarios of when you should use these things. So it's really well written, well thought out article, and I
Yep.
just wanted to share what TJ was up to with that.
Awesome. Awesome. Telerik's teenage sensation, as I like to call him. The guy is so young looking.
He takes a lot of heat off of me when I travel because I don't know if you remember this. The first time we were all together, you and I and TJ and some of the other folks on our team, we all sat down at the table and I said, I'm glad TJ's here because I'm always the guy that gets carded. And just about when I said that, TJ got up to use the restroom, and
Yeah.
the waitress came over while he was gone, and she carded me.
Oh, good. Perfect. I never get carded, so I don't know what that says about me, but there you go.
So 10 best practices for remote software engineering.
Yeah, obviously
Remote's
in the age
sticking
of
around, huh,
COVID.
John?
Yeah, I know. Obviously in the age of COVID, excuse me, a lot of us are working remotely, if not all of us. And this was an article on ACM where basically, I think this is practical advice for anyone working remotely. But basically, it's this sort of typical sort of articles you see about this. But I thought it was clever just to remind us of things that are useful to employ when working remotely. Make sure you're working on things that you love. Take breaks. Just because you're working remotely doesn't mean you have to be remotely. You have to be disconnected. There's all kinds of sort of tips and tricks in here. So it's a good little read, maybe for the morning coffee, and just to remind yourself of things that you should be putting into practice.
Yeah,
Unfortunately,
definitely.
I think there's an issue with the HTML here. You can see that the numbering resets for sections. So I think
I
what's
see that.
happened here is these are probably ordered. This is an ordered list or something. Using my HTML skills, I'm probably thinking this is an ordered list, and they're breaking it up and inadvertently breaking the ordering. So there you go. There should be 10 tips on there, but there's
Yeah.
1, 2, then 1, 2, 1, 2. Yeah.
Or they wrote it in Markdown and didn't reset the number.
Yeah, or that. Yeah.
That
So,
happens also. So
oh,
before
for
we
sure.
go, I want to talk about something that we're going to be doing on the Code It live stream all week. So it's almost the end of the month, but we're still, I guess, in Easter mode here. So
Yep,
it's
eating
still
chocolate.
spring in the northern hemisphere. So why not?
Yeah, that's what I tell my
Um,
wife. I'm like, it's still Easter. I'm eating chocolate still. She's like, "Oh, come on, it's still
yeah.
April, March. Come on."
So we're doing a Easter egg hunt. So we've got a couple of our folks from DevRel split into different teams, and we're having some shows to hide and locate the Easter eggs on the shows. So we're gonna have some fun writing some code and embedding these Easter eggs for people to go find. Hence my tweet today. I don't know if you saw that tweet come out, John. This was a big headline in my. This is DevRel life, just by the way.
Okay.
This
All
is
right.
just this is so DevRel. This is my tweet from this morning. I don't know if you.
What? Typical Monday for me. Hey, Sarah, FYI, I have an expense report to file for $6 3D chicken. Oh, is that like you're doing you're pulling in some kind of 3D model or something like that from
I know.
some
I know.
model.
It's
All
a
right.
it's a secret here. We got to
Hey,
keep
it's
that a
not
secret.
hard. This is not like, all right. So
Uh,
another clue on there is from TJ, Mouse Chicken. All right.
yeah. So we'll be having fun with this all week. So keep
Okay.
tuned in, hit follow, subscribe, whatever it takes, and you'll see us all goofing around and having fun
As
on our
opposed to
shows
what?
this week.
As opposed to what? Normal goofing
Yeah.
around and okay.
I never once thought I would be writing my boss to clear an expense report for a 3D
Oh
chicken.
God. That's right.
Like, is that what you're doing with like your final dissertation? Like, where do you see yourself
Sure.
10 years?
Improving expense reports for three-dimensional chickens.
Yeah,
Perfect.
why not?
Yep.
Why not, John? All right. Well, back to normal. Back to
Yep.
reality. We will be here all day, this or all week this week. We've got shows with not only this, but we have a hackathon going on. We have the Easter egg hunt going on. We have React, Angular, CSS, Xamarin, you name it. We're talking about it.
Rotating planets,
We're
all that
doing
great stuff.
AR. We're doing VR. If there's software development attached, if you can open up a code editor in it or to it, we're talking about it, John.
All right.
So
Sounds
thanks for
good.
sticking around, and we will see you next week. Bye bye.
See ya.